Aestheticism is often misunderstood. To many, it appears as nothing more than a fixation on beauty, an obsession with fashion, design, or art, a lifestyle centered around elegance and refinement. It is seen as self-indulgent, shallow, and disconnected from the real world, as if it were nothing more than a personal taste rather than a serious way of thinking. But to see aestheticism as merely a lifestyle is to strip it of its true depth. In reality, aestheticism is a philosophy, a way of approaching life itself, one that goes far beyond the material world and into the very nature of existence. At its core, aestheticism is the belief that beauty, in all its forms, is not simply an accessory to life, but an essential part of it. It is a rejection of utilitarianism, the notion that everything must have a function, that things must serve a direct, measurable purpose to be valuable. Aestheticism stands against this, insisting that the experience of beauty itself is enough. That art does not need justification. That elegance is not an indulgence, but a necessity. That life is not merely about existing, but about experiencing something profound. This is where the philosophical nature of aestheticism becomes evident. To live aesthetically is not just to surround oneself with beautiful things. It is to recognize that beauty is one of the few things that give life meaning. It is the realization that in a world full of chaos, disorder, and suffering, there is still something worth cherishing. The moments of transcendence found in art, nature, music, and human expression. Aestheticism is not about vanity, it is about purpose. It is a way of finding structure in the formless, of creating order in the disorderly, of making sense of a universe that often appears indifferent. The pursuit of beauty is not about escape, but about enhancement. It is about learning to see the extraordinary within the ordinary, to cultivate an appreciation for what others overlook. Aestheticism is not about rejecting reality, it is about elevating it. In this way, aestheticism is an act of defiance. In a world that values efficiency above all else, that pushes for speed, productivity, and practicality, aestheticism stands as a challenge. It refuses to conform to a system that sees life as nothing more than a series of transactions. Instead, it embraces a slower, more intentional way of being. It asks that we not just go through life, but that we see it, feel it, and experience it fully. To embrace aestheticism as a philosophy is to understand that life itself is an artistic act, that how we move through the world, how we dress, how we speak, how we create, these are not arbitrary choices. They are expressions of something deeper. The world we build around ourselves, the objects we choose to keep close, the way we present ourselves, these things reflect our inner world. They are not meaningless. They are the way we make sense of ourselves and the way we communicate that understanding to others. But aestheticism is not just about appreciation, it is about creation. To truly live aesthetically is not to passively admire beauty, but to cultivate it, to make art out of existence, to shape the world around us with intention. It is about crafting a life that is not just practical but poetic. It is about making choices not just for their function, but for their resonance. It is about designing a world where everything, no matter how small, contributes to a greater sense of harmony and depth. This is why aestheticism is not merely a lifestyle. A lifestyle can be adopted and discarded at will. It is something external, something that can be imitated. A philosophy, on the other hand, is something lived. It is a way of thinking that informs everything. True aestheticism is not about trends or fashion or what is currently considered beautiful. It is about cultivating an awareness of beauty in all its forms, regardless of what the world dictates. It is about finding the sublime in places others ignore, about discovering artistry in the everyday. Some may argue that aestheticism is impractical, that it offers nothing tangible, that it does not solve the world's great problems. But this is a limited way of thinking. Aestheticism does not need to be practical in the conventional sense because its purpose is not to build, but to inspire. It is not about production, but about perception. And perception, in turn, shapes reality. When one learns to see the world through the lens of aestheticism, life itself changes. The mundane becomes meaningful. The simple becomes profound. The act of drinking coffee in the morning, of walking through the streets, of arranging books on a shelf. These things are no longer routine. They become small rituals, moments of significance, pieces of art within the greater tapestry of existence. And in a world that often feels cold and mechanical, this is no small thing. The ability to find beauty, to create it, to live within it, this is what makes life bearable. This is what makes it rich. This is what makes it worth living. Aestheticism, then, is not a frivolity. It is not a pastime for the privileged or an affectation for the pretentious. It is a philosophy that recognizes the power of beauty to transform the human experience. It is the realization that we are not just passive participants in life, but creators of it. That the way we see the world, the way we shape it, the way we choose to experience it, these things matter. To live aesthetically is to live with intention. To make choices not just based on necessity, but based on meaning. To refuse to accept the ordinary when the extraordinary is possible. Aestheticism is not an escape from reality. It is an enhancement of it. To embrace it fully is to understand that beauty is not secondary to life. It is life itself. And to live without it is not to live at all. If you enjoy this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe.